Welcome everyone. Today the topic is who built Yodha Wewa. So let us state a fact here. There is no direct reference to Yodha Wewa or the canal has been found in any ancient book. Mahavansa, Chulavansa, Pujavaliya, all are silent on this work. So you're not going to see anything about Yodha Wewa directly. But there are a lot of reservoirs that are not being identified. But we don't have any reference in Mahavansa or Chulavansa, Pujavaliya, Rajavaliya, any of those books directly. Like Manihira is Minneri, we could clearly see that. Kalavapi is Kalawewa, we could clearly see that. And it was located as explained in Mahavansa. But there is no such direct reference in any of these historical books. So the very famous irrigation engineer S. Arumugam, he in his book Development of Water Resources in Ceylon, I have that book here, in Giant's Tank, he wrote, Nicholas is the famous historian C.W. Nicholas, Colin Wade Nicholas. So he's saying, this is Arumugam writing, S. Arumugam. Nicholas considers the possibility of this work being identical with Mahanama Matavapi, a tank in the north with 17-mile canal, augmentation constructed during the reign of King Dhatusena, and which was later listed as one of the tanks restored by Parakrambhav. So basically, Arumugam don't have anything to say. He just say send you to Nicholas. No, he has no anything to say. He just say Nicholas said this. So we go to Nicholas. This is C.W. Nicholas' book, Historical Topography of Ancient and Medieval Ceylon. C.W. Nicholas is a very famous ancient historian. He lived in like 1970s. 1980s or 70s. So, in his book in 1969, he says this. This is his theory. Okay. Mahapatanaju, mentioned in the Sigri graffiti, means the island of Mana. So, Mahapatanaju, is Mana, he is saying. And Mannar or Mannaram, present Mana, was a village near Mahatitta, and Tamil invaders held sway there in the reign of Parakrambhav too. So far he's just explaining what Mana, area is. And then he says Manamatta, also called Manamatu and Manavatu, was the name of a tank and a district. He found this evidence in Pujavaliya. So in Pujavaliya there is Manamatta. The construction of the tank is ascribed to Dhatusena. So in Pujavaliya says Manamatta tank was built by King Dhatusena. And Parakrambhav I restored Mahanama Manamattaka tank. So looks like Parakrambhav restored that tank. In the 13th century, Tamil invaders occupied this district. Manamatta tank was probably present. Giant's Tank, Yodha Wewa. So, okay, alright. So, Nicholas is saying that, Pujavaliya says Manamatta tank was built by King Dhatusena. Let's go step by step. So, Pujavaliya says Manamatta tank was built by King Dhatusena. That's what the Pujavaliya says. Now, how do we know this Manamatta tank is the Yodha Wewa? He's saying Manamatta means Mana. Manamatta means Mana. How does he say Mahapatumchi is Mana? And there is no direct way to say Manamatta is Mana, but Mannara, today Mana, but English word is Mana, but used to be Mannara. So Mannara rhyme with Manamatta. So if there is a reservoir in Manamatta. This is the only reservoir in Mana area, the only big reservoir. So he say Manamatta rhyme with Mana, Mannara. So that's why he believed this Manamatta tank mentioned in Puja earlier is Yodha Wewa. Well, it's up to you to believe or not to believe, and this is what Nicholas says. Manamatta tank is Yodha Wewa because Manamatta rhyme with Mana. We really cannot say exactly Manamatta means Mana. Manamatta rhymes with Mannara. So Manamatta, there's only one big tank, and that's Yodha Wewa. So that's his theory. And there's another theory by Mudaliya C. Rajanagam in his book Ancient Jaffna. He suggests that this was built by Naga people a long time ago. Now let's look at this theory and let's give some facts about this. The bund is not too tall compared to like 70 feet tall bunds of Minneri. This is only 10-15 feet tall. So the bund is not too tall. So you don't really need much of a technology. You need a lot of labor to build a long bund, but technology-wise, it's not much. The bund could have done over a very long period of time. It's a not too tall. It's a long bund. It could have, they could have taken their time. The project overall is not a complicated project. Yodha Wewa is not a complicated project. You don't need a Bisoko tool. And the spillway is naturally existing rock formation. So the only thing done was the bund. And if you look here, the water comes from here, and you can locate a contour mark and you have this rock formation and probably have some other rock formations. So you could build this bund over a long period of time. But it's absurd to believe that such a big tank existed when King Vijaya came. We know that when Vijaya came, that there was rice, because Mahavansa mentions that there was rice in Kueni's time. And there were ponds, Pokkurani was mentioned in Mahavansa when King Vijaya came. So there were ponds and there was rice. But such a big reservoir and that could feed millions of people is doubtful. I don't buy that. But what could possibly happen was that there could have been a natural water body here. There could have been some bunds built, and there could have been a smaller reservoir. And then later on, this bund could have been somewhere in here, a small one, and then could have been extended over a long period of time, and this reservoir came. But still, the question of the canal and the anecut remains. Those things are a little complicated. I remember if you go to the anecut, these things are complicated stuff. Definitely has to be built on later times. So the Wewa itself could have been built on ancient times, but the major work here is the anecut. So that we don't know. So that's the evidence that we have, and kind of flimsy in my opinion, but that's what we got. Thanks a lot for listening.